warn her, but it just made things worse, and their parents basically gave up trying to get through to her. Then when? Their parents basically gave up trying to get through to her. Then when Elizabeth got pregnant, Tom Bylade and Elizabeth spiraled. It wasn't drugs, it was depression, real scary depression. And nobody in the family really knew how to help because nobody talked about mental health back then. Her words, not mine. The thing that got me though was when she said Elizabeth had always been jealous of her. She said it quietly like she didn't want to admit it. But then she told me about little stuff. Elizabeth would copy her clothes, her handwriting, even the way she did her hair. Apparently their mom, my grandma I guess, always compared them, told Elizabeth she should be more like her perfect big sister. So when my mom took me in, Elizabeth saw it as her losing again, like she was failing at life, and my mom was winning by default. So yeah, apparently my whole existence is like the final round in their sister competition. That made me so mad, I didn't even know how to answer. I asked if she ever thought about telling me when I was a kid, and she just stared at her hands and said so many times. But every time she chickened out. At that point, I just kind of lost it, not screaming, but I told her it felt like my whole life was a lie, like I was just a prop in their drama. I said, do you even get how messed up this is? You just decided for me forever, and now I don't know who I am. She started crying again, but I just sat there. After a few minutes, she wiped her face and told me Elizabeth wanted to meet me. Said Shed emailed her and asked if she could reach out. And Elizabeth wrote back a long letter. Mom said she hadn't read it, just forwarded it to me. Said she thought it should come from her directly. I checked my email on my phone and there it was. Subject line just for you. I didn't open it. I just stared at it and then put my phone face down. I asked Mom what she wanted me to do and she said she honestly didn't know. Said Shed support whatever I decided, but she hoped I'd at least read the letter because Elizabeth had been carrying guilt for years, which maybe, but I also feel like that's her problem, not mine. I left pretty soon after. She tried to hug me, but I stepped back and she just let her arms drop. I could tell I hurt her, but Tabbich, I was hurt too. So I went home and Megan was in the kitchen and she just handed me a bowl without asking any questions, which is why I love her. We ate in silence, just scrolling through our phones, and for a few minutes it almost felt normal. The next morning I woke up to like 6 texts from my mom, just checking in, asking if I was okay, telling me she loved me. I spent the whole day at the park just walking for hours, listening to random playlists and trying not to think. At one point I saw a mom with a little girl, and I almost laughed because it felt so fake, like, how do people just go on like nothing happens? Megan kept asking if I'd read the email, and I kept saying no. Finally, after 3 days, I caved. I waited until she was out, poured a huge mug of tea, sat on the floor with my laptop, and opened it. The letter was long and clumsy. Elizabeth wrote about how sorry she was, how she wished things were different, how she thought giving me up was the right thing, how she was scared of being her mom, how she watched my mom raise me from a distance sometimes, which made my skin crawl a little. Like, what does that even mean? She's stalking me or just like checking in with family? She said she was in therapy now, that she'd spent years rebuilding her life, and that she wanted to meet me if I was willing, but understood if I didn't. Here's the thing that really pissed me off, though. She kept saying, I hope you can forgive me, but never really explained why. Like she talked about being scared, about Tom being awful, but she never said, I left because of this specific thing. Just a lot of vague stuff about not being ready, feeling lost, being overwhelmed. And then she ended it with, I love you in my own way. What does that even mean?